Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Dr. Terrence Duncan, and this is Mahogany Thoughts, and we are providing a recording webinar, which will be featured on YouTube and also on social channels as part of the Metro East Black Wealth Builder Initiative. And today I have Miss Joanne DiMaggio, and she is actually with the Illinois Small Business Development Center at SIUE. So how are you doing, Miss Joanne?
Doing well. Thank you so much, Dr. Terrence.
Absolutely. And so before we got on the call, we had actually talked previously with one of our guests how we came, to know each other. Excuse me. So I've known Miss Joanne for, I think, several years, maybe since 2019, 2018, 2019, 2019. And actually, when I met her, I had just lost my job with in the private sector, a corporate job. And so I was just trying to find my way. And a friend of mine had pointed me to her direction. And so we have connected and stayed in contact since, and we provide support for one each other. And as a community support, and also for educational support for the businesses throughout the Southern Illinois area. For myself personally, I do sit on several boards. One of them is the State of Illinois Business Enterprise Program for minorities, disadvantaged, and other individuals in the minority categories. It's a long title and I can't remember all the time. But also I work with the state of Illinois on some working committees in trying to improve minority development throughout the entire state. So that's pretty cool, working with different stakeholders. Joanne, she actually made those formal introductions. And, to that end, I do love to always highlight the importance of networking and understanding that collaboration, when you make collaborations, it should be long-term strategically and not looking for immediate short-term impact. But without further ado, Joanne, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background, where your location is, and just some of the great things that you got going on in the Southern Illinois area.
Definitely. Thank you. I come from a restaurant background and got my MBA at SIUE and was actually a graduate assistant for the Small Business Development Center there, and always kept my connection. Like Dr. Duncan said, it's all about relationships. So I fostered those relationships. I come from that small business background, as I said, and always had an affinity for academics, and was able to go back in 2013 full time as the business specialist. And then in 2017, I officially became director after my predecessor moved on. We are under the SBA and Department of Commerce and receive a lot of resources and funding through the federal government and the state, which gives us a lot of partners and resources to tap into, along with the university that hosts us at SIUE. We can tap into different departments and utilize, university staff and faculty to assist our clients. Actually working with the engineering department right now with a couple clients that are needing prototypes. I am opening the conversation again for the fall to help businesses with their website. So most of the time, these are new businesses just needing to get their website started. We can, tap into the students, give them the experience and the opportunity to build their portfolio as well. And it gives, the client a very low cost option for web design. Besides that, we offer one-on-one, no cost, confidential advising, and it can be from, that business plan to registration process, all the way to buying or selling your business, or, anything in between. So we actually, build that relationship with our entrepreneurs and small business owners and work with them on a regular basis as much as needed. And we supplement that with workshops and webinars. So 3 to 4 times a month, we have different opportunities to, enhance that learning and even more value to what we talked about in our one-on-one meetings. For example, we have our Starting a Small Business workshop every month. That's going to be on Wednesday, tomorrow. We have our grant preparation workshop going over that Grant Accountability Transparency Act, helping you get ready for federal and state grants generally. And it also really includes those initial steps for that government contracting, those certifications. So if you are a woman-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned business, you need to have your unique entity identifier through sam.gov and have that complete profile, as well as, keeping your business in good standing with the state, et cetera. So we have that webinar next week. We have a buying or selling a business on September 19th, I believe. And we've hosted lots of different topics from financial planning to social media. We actually have our last social media cohort, which is 5 sessions starting at the latter part of September. So we try to keep our website up to date with probably 60 to 90 days out for those workshops and webinars. So you can go to siue.edu/SBDC, Small Business Development Center, and it will have a tab on there for our calendar of events, and you can take a look at all of those and register. And most of those opportunities are at no cost, or if there is a cost, it's very minimal. For example, those 5 sessions that I mentioned for our social media cohort is $50 for all 5 sessions. So that's $10 a session. And honestly, those experts would be probably 5 times that cost an hour. So you're getting an hour and a half each week for 5 weeks of their time. And you get a copy of the recording. We're not attorneys or accountants, but we make those connections in the community. Like Dr. Duncan mentioned, it's, all about those relationships. So, I'm with the Latino Roundtable. I'm with probably 9 different chambers. I'm always connecting with, different attorneys, accountants, insurance agents, anyone, that would be a great collaborative partner for the SBDC and help, the small businesses that we work with. There's just a lot of opportunity to, learn what you need to know about starting a business and growing your business.
Absolutely. And so I would like to, and thank you, Joanne. And what I want to do is I want to share this real briefly for those who may watch this video later, the actual website itself. So here's Joanne. So as you see on the website, I went to siue.edu/SBDC, take you to this landing page. You'll see where it actually has the calendar for different workshops and events. And for those who have not been to this website, this is a very easy to navigate website. And they do, like she said about the workshops and seminars, they have a lot of them, and some of them are repetitive, which is good because, by repeating the content or even updating it, a lot of businesses, it doesn't matter when they hop on, they're able to get on and just, ride the wave, depending on whatever programming that they need. And so I remember when I was a consultant with the SBDC under the CARES grant, it was really interesting, just the insight that you would have, working with different small businesses, minority small businesses, and trying to get them to, to scale their business. That was our strategic goal. And so one of the biggest challenges that I saw during my time as a consultant and even afterwards is just really just trying to direct people to the correct sources. So one of the things that I do want to dispel, which is to me, I feel like is a myth in a lot of ways, is that there is no access to resources. And I think that's not really valid. I think it's more connectivity. But also I think it builds on communication. And so, programs like what the SBDC is doing, what I'm trying to accomplish through various stakeholder relationships is to help continue to build awareness for these particular programs. I'm not being compensated by the SBDC. I'm not compensated by the state. I know some people, after our Black Business Survey felt like that, I was basically paid to say these things. And no, this is just a passion to ensure that minority businesses not only have a chance to grow, but really take advantage of a lot of resources that's available. And, like I said earlier, why should I charge for certain services if I know that I can direct somebody, especially for those businesses that have limited financial capacity, to go ahead and take advantage of those free resources. Some of these workshops, if I recall correctly, are on demand.
I
So
did forget to mention that. Yeah, there is a library of some recordings in the middle of that page.
Okay. Yes. And so, because I remember I stumbled on a couple of them back in the day when I was trying to understand how to get my GATA registration, and we'll talk about that in a second. But, a lot of these things that these SBDs do throughout the entire state, they're very instrumental in ensuring that all businesses, regardless of color, ethnicity, creed, et cetera, have the ability to be able to grow. And not just, just get access to funding, but to be able to grow full-time employment. I think that is the overarching goal of the SBA, is to ensure that not only are we providing funding to qualified businesses, but also ensuring that these businesses are becoming good stewards in the community by building businesses, giving people jobs, innovative programming, and things like that to meet certain needs. So it is some work. I think, Joanne, you can agree with that. Like writing a business plan does require some work, but it's a process. And the more that you work with these resources, the more that you try to understand how to write a good business plan, the more muscle memory that you get, the more that you're actually activating certain processes in your mind, and just, facing reality is, does this business actually work? Excuse me. So, like, for example, the SIU SBDC is doing the Metro East startup competition. Now, unfortunately, I think by the time the recording uploads, which will be on the 16th is the last day to participate. But it's one of those programs where you just get, sign up and be on the listserv, so you can get those heads up and those notifications, so you can participate on social media marketing. If you can't afford a social media marketer, if you can't afford certain services, SBDC is a good resource to be able to do that. And for me, I always emphasize talking to the experts instead of hearing a word on the street, because, oftentimes what works for one may not work for all. So, anytime people ask me for certain information, I always try to steer them to what I feel may be the most qualifiable source possible, if it's not myself. So let's talk about, registering your business in Illinois. I know that you normally have workshops on that level, but, like as far as like getting registered in SAM, the importance of registering SAM, the importance of your GATA registration, just to be able to put yourself in play for state and federal funding, as you had talked about.
Yes, because a lot of those grant opportunities come quickly, and there's a fast turnaround deadline to, submit your application for consideration. So having your unique entity identifier, which used to be called a DUNS number, through sam.gov, and just making sure you update and renew your sam.gov profile every year. And then just staying current with, the Secretary of State and, the Department of Revenue, et cetera, making sure you're not on any do not pay lists or things like that. So just following all those rules that come with, the grant process. And we can certainly help you with some of that initial work, so that you are ready when those grants come out.
Absolutely. The great thing about this program is that, how much does it cost, Joanne?
Zero, no cost.
No cost. So it's really worth your time and the effort, to be able to sign up and register. And even if, and even if you don't feel like that there's a need right away, go ahead and get yourself registered for those services, to go ahead and get your business registered. Because in a lot of ways, it could help you get access to business credit later on down the line. just because of the fact that it shows that you have registered your business to be a legitimate business in the state and the federal system, as well as receiving like a Guns and Bradstreet number and things of that nature. The other thing too is that, you know, like Joanne said, and I can speak from experience, that some of these RFPs, requests for proposals that come out, they are very, very short windows. Sometimes they'll give the notice for the pending RFP, and then if you blink fast enough, it's there, and then you got 48 hours to 72 hours to get this updated. And you know, it's way much more beneficial to have an active standing, even if you're not using it at this time, because if you do get a notice, whether it's from something forwarded from myself or something forwarded by Joanne or something by DCEO or the Illinois Treasurer or any other agency, if you know, it could take a couple of days, or if they have system issues, it could take a week or two to be able to you know, to get yourself registered into the system, meaning that you could miss out on an opportunity to do business with the state. You know, another thing too is that, you know, the benefit of, you know, my perception, and you know, I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but my perception is, you know, the state and the Fed, when it comes to advertising, especially for minorities to participate, that's free marketing, right? You know, I mean, it's like there was no other entity where you look at it from that, you know, from that standpoint where somebody's just going to come knocking on the door and just say, hey, you know, you're a veteran-owned business, you're a women-led business, you know, we're going to make sure that we allocate $300,000 for you or $1 million up for you. Now, are there certain criteria? Absolutely. However, you know, build the capacity for it and understand that in order to build the capacity, it takes time. I've been in business for 5 years, 4 years. Been in business for almost 4 years. The last two a little bit more serious than others. And I understand that, you know, it takes time to be able to build that level of capacity, to build that level of knowledge. But, you know, the great thing is that, you know, with Joanne, she has connected me to more resources, right? So like the Procurement Technical Assistance Center with Dr. Ebler from Western Illinois, Matt Simpson from the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, who has in turn led me to additional contacts throughout the state. And I have been able to utilize those relationships to help, you know, connect different organizations and businesses to take advantage of it, or even make those recommendations. I don't know if they actually follow through with it because it's confidential, but you know, there are contracts, you know, that are available. And Joanne, I guess maybe we can talk about this. Is, you know, I spoke to somebody earlier today, and we talked about construction, you know, and they said, well, all the money's going to Chicago. Well, you can speak about it from your perspective, but I told him that that, you know, one of the reasons why it's in Chicago is because their infrastructure, as far as, you know, the sheer number of businesses that are bidding, the businesses that have the capacity for it, they're more numerous up north than it is downstate. And I think that we probably have, I think we're very deficient. I haven't seen those numbers yet, but I think they were very deficient once you get out of that greater Chicagoland for businesses that are actually applying. So if we're not applying, then it's only natural and organic for Chicago, the Chicago region, to obtain a lot of those contracts. And so if you're a sole single bidder, or if you're one of four, chances are they got a 25% chance of winning the bid. And Joanne, I know you've been doing this longer for me, so please correct me if I'm wrong with that perception.
No, I totally agree. I think one of the big things is, you know, businesses just don't have the time and energy and don't always know how to go about the process. So they need the resources like the procurement office, which is now called Apex Accelerator,
Yes.
the SBDCs, et cetera. And, you know, really in our area, there are very few MBEs, minority business enterprises, WBEs, women business enterprises, veteran owned small businesses, etc., veteran business enterprises. So I think in one way we're just doing ourselves a disservice by not seeking out the help and getting these certifications so that we have a chance, on these contracts. These construction companies or what have you, they're able to bid, and if they have the certification that the entity is looking for, they've got an advantage. There's a certain quota that, the state, federal, or even local government has to meet, or even, businesses put that kind of guideline in place for their company. So they want to work with so many, women-owned businesses, et cetera. So we're putting, our businesses are already at a disadvantage if we don't, take the time and energy to become certified.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing too is one thing that I found out just through my relationship with the SBDC and other various state agencies is that some of these agencies have what they call industry days. So for example, Scott Air Force Base, they have an industry day where they're looking for a specific type of businesses in certain fields. I know there's some businesses across the river in the St. Louis area that are in the federal area. They advertise to Southern Illinois because it's all part of the bi-state region, and it's just easily accessible to go across the river to bid. But yeah, there are industry days. There's a lot of information that's just blasted out there in the atmosphere. And so I think that we all have a responsibility to, even if we're not in a position to apply for those things, to be able to share them or help, people that have the capacity or the ability to take that lead to go ahead and apply for certain things. I have no interest in getting a construction, but that doesn't mean that if I know that somebody has the capability and the skill set to do it, then maybe they just need a nudge, or maybe, introduce them to different contractors so they could be a subcontractor. So, that's another thing that a lot of businesses don't understand from my conversation, is that you don't necessarily have to bid holistically on these multi-million-dollar projects, but you could be a subcontractor and be able to do some of the services under the larger contract. So if we take, I use an organization like Holland Construction. Holland Construction gets a lot of projects throughout the state and throughout the region. I'm pretty positive that, them and Ameren and those type of organizations and stuff, they have what they call diversity supplier relationship. And that's one of the ways that they're able to connect with certain professional services, construction services, all different types of industries, whatever their focus is, scope of focus is, to ensure that you're part of that contract so that you can actually get, some of the contractual dollars that's allocated for minorities in that particular field. The benefit of that particular situation is not only do you actually don't have to worry about the larger scale and the capacity that maybe these larger organizations have, but at the same time, they're able to kind of help guide you, right? And ensuring that, you build a relationship with those individuals, and that can actually in turn lead to contracts with that particular that prime contractor that may not even be government or state contract related, right? So, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and try to network and collaborate. Follow up on some of these emails that you have from Joanne, or you can reach out to me. And again, I know I don't have a contractual relationship with SBDC no more, but I do have a relationship with SBDC, and we stay in regular contact because we're both equally aligned in ensuring that all businesses are able to thrive in the Southern Illinois region and beyond. Recently we had the Black Business Survey that was administered by the Illinois Department of Commerce of Economic Opportunity, which is a lot of letters. But Matt Simpson, who's the African-American business director, he came down, and he's actually probably still going throughout the state and providing some of those data points based on the survey. Now, obviously, it didn't capture all the businesses, but some of the numbers were really interesting as far as, the number of businesses that exist in Illinois that are minority owned, and the amount of revenue and the amount of employees. What were some of the takeaways that you found interesting, when we had that meeting back in June in East St. Louis, Joanne?
I think, one thing that I found interesting was just, the lack of knowledge about resources and connections. But also, just, the challenges that all businesses face. But it's even more prominent, when we look at, the, minority population, like, funding for their business, et cetera. So just really sharing those resources is important.
Absolutely. Now, there are resources available that's able to help out. I know Justine Peterson strikes to mind of one of them. I know that myself, Long Range is looking at doing something in that capacity as well, with the effort to help businesses be able to get connectivity to the resources that's available, not necessarily be a banker, but more so in a brokerage world. But, in the interim and stuff, there is a lot of funding sources available. Personal credit and business credit, there are two different animals. But the requirements for business credit, to be able to get business credit, especially if you've been in business for quite some time, even though it's not 100% guaranteed, it's a lot more flexibility than a lot of people realize compared to personal credit, as well as utilizing tax services as well too, right? So understanding how to get your taxes together, reaching out to a tax professional. A lot of them are not that expensive. You could, have some that might do a pro bono if you're lucky enough to find one. A lot of them you can probably find for under $200. But that $200 can be an investment, right? In order to help identify tax savings and also help you with tax preparing. So, don't be afraid to reach out to those particular vendors and providers because, regardless of color, a lot of them are willing to work with you because of the fact that, we all can relate. We've been there before. And so, I always found that really interesting myself, because I do sit in a lot of rooms, a lot of meetings, and just, this just the level of interest and just saying, hey, we would like to, work with some minority businesses. We would like to see them grow, see them achieve, because, we look at it from the grand economic platform. Everybody wins if we are investing in minority. Secondary to that is that if you look at the region of St. Louis and compare it to other similar sized metropolitan areas, we're kind of failing in that regards because other cities that you see are thriving. One of the reasons why they're thriving is because they're the minority participation. So cities, think of Nashville, you think of Indianapolis, you think of Kansas City, right? Kansas City is smaller than St. Louis, but they actually, Kansas City and Denver are, their minority businesses have a higher GDP output than the St. Louis region. So, it's efforts like this is very serious and necessary to the vitality of economic growth in the region, which, that growth can actually help fuel money to go back into our municipalities for the most basic services, whether it be fire, police, schools, things of that nature and stuff too. So it's more than just helping businesses grow. There's a significant economic impact just for your participation, and also the ability to hire people that may look just like you, a little bit more easier, right? Because if you are the CEO of a construction company, then yeah, you can, go out and recruit, or, whatever your hiring practices are, as long as they meet federal and state laws, you can go ahead and recruit and retain and train individuals. And hopefully, that creates a trickle down effect as far as them creating businesses on their own. And so a lot of, you look at from the outside looking in about why a lot of other cities and regions are able to thrive. It's because of that nature. Now, are there obstacles? For sure, there are obstacles, but there's obstacles everywhere. But the thing is that, continue to network, continue to use the resources that are available. Stay in contact with your SBDC, even if Joanne doesn't have the answer for you right away. That doesn't mean that she can't work with you later on down the line, right? There's only so much that she can do. I think that the SBDC office is it's not like a 100-man team, so they have to go on strategic priority. So if you're not doing too much to produce towards that particular nature, she will try to refer you out. I can tell you that from experience. But if you're closer towards the finish line, or if you're doing something like with the engineer department where you're working on a prototype, yeah, absolutely. SBDC can be able to help you accelerate that. They can also, from time to time, be able to help you with marketing analysis, so depending on the resources that they have available, particularly during the school year, you might be able to get some of the market or the business, what they call business intelligence, to help you develop your business plan, or to be able to identify market size, or to, even if they can't do it, they can point you in that right direction. And that, knowing the numbers, knowing your market is very vital for your success as well. And it's just about as important as just you getting an LLC, or being registered with the Secretary of State. So we are invested very much so, personally, professionally, and to the vitality of minority businesses in the region. And so, to that, I'm always grateful for my relationship with you, Joanne, based on just all of our experiences. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think you really hit everything. I look forward to working with all of you, and always happy to provide some guidance and support, and referrals and anything that I can do to help you get to that next level. So I just appreciate the opportunity to share what we do. It's somewhat of a hidden gem, and I would just encourage everyone to take advantage of the no cost service. And it's again, it's all confidential, and we're here to help.
Absolutely. There was one more thing I wanted to say, and I can't remember. That always happens at the end. Watch it come to me afterwards and stuff. I just know that, like I said, speaking from my experiences as a small business owner, there has been growth and development, and also, to like the relationship I have with Joanne, I have been able to ask her some questions, and even though it may not be a direct business consult, just being able to get steered to the right people. I have been into some murky situations with one of my business entities and stuff, and I reached out to her immediately and I said, "Hey, do you know any people?" And she gave me some recommendations. And just having that, like you said, that hidden gem, so that way it kind of takes some of that guesswork, because sometimes for those who are not versed in risk management, if you're not knowing, you increase the likelihood of risk and failure to your business if you continue to stumble out or not seek out consultation or advice from your experts and stuff. So I'm always a big fan of building mentors, and just continue to follow the information. It reminds me of a TED Talks that I showed for one of my leadership development trainings I did in St. Louis. And the individual had said that it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert, but during the 10,000 hours, you do a lot of failing within that 10,000 hours. You're going to make mistakes within that 10,000 hours. That's not to say that after you get to 12,000 hours, you're not going to make mistakes, but just that knowledge, that experience that you wind up getting along the way makes you more well-versed to handle certain situations. And even though that Joanne and myself may not have specific answers to your industry, our broader insight and general knowledge will help you, guide the path that you need to be able to help minimize those mistakes if you're willing to participate regularly and listen. So, with that said, the Metro East Black Wealth Builders, it's not a organization, as far as like an entity, but it is more of a strategic task force where we are trying to build capacity in the Southern Illinois region and beyond. And that includes building regional collaborations with, different city centers like Carbondale or Springfield or Champaign. I mean, we can do business amongst each other, not just in our backyard, O'Fallon or Alton or East St. Louis or, excuse me, or like even Godfrey. We can go to Champaign, we can go to Springfield, we can go to Kankakee and do business with other entities and stuff, and it's that itself creates an ecosystem of sorts where we can be able to build. So continue to try to follow us on social, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. I know Joanne posts regularly on the Illinois SBDC page on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I'm a sporadic poster in nature and stuff. I'm just not the best at social media. But Joanne will tell you, I'm the guy that will often send an email or text message and say, "Hey, can you look into doing this and that? Or can you work with me when you have the time?" Right. And so anytime that any of you wants to be a collaborator on this particular project and stuff, because we do believe that there's a lot of great talent in this region, and there's a lot of great opportunities that's just sitting on the table that we all should be taking advantage of in some capacity, or helping others to be able to scale and not only be proud business owners, but be very highly successful and visible successful owners. And on that note, you know what? There was this you had a success story on in Alton. You had something like within the last 30 days.
Most sweet treats.
Yeah. Let's before we wrap that up, share that story. I think that's a good story to share.
Yeah, she's actually a young veteran, and she has a business running a bicycle to sell ice cream. And, she goes around Alton, and we were able to spotlight her and, all the work that we've done together. And then also the state celebrated her success this month because it is Black Business Month. So, I always tell my clients the success story is more for them than it is the SBDC. It gets the
Absolutely.
word out, and I know they're being seen. I know people are reading these stories because from time to time I'll get a phone call, and they think that number, for some reason, they're connecting that number with that business when it's actually the SBDC that they're calling. But
Mhm.
I've been able to reconnect them, with that business owner, and it really just helps spotlight the hard work that they put in, for sure.
Absolutely. And I just think that, and they always, and ever since I've been working with the SBDC, they always are highlighting businesses and stuff because the thing is, like I said, I actually remember seeing her. Dr. Dorothy Mosby, she actually has an event hall in Alton. And so I think it was like one of her grand openings. And that was the first time I met her. And I was just like, well, that's an interesting idea. And just to see 2 years later or a year later, to see her, featured in the SBDC newsletter and stuff, I thought that was pretty awesome and stuff because, it just kind of really reemphasizes the fact that, a lot of these business owners that you see, these small mom and pop business owners, I mean, they had to start just like everybody else and just, working with those resources such as the SBDC and other different stakeholders and mentors can really, really help you grow and just kind of get some of that frustration and some of the angst and anxiety that you may have as a business owner, off of you because they may be able to help, redirect you to those particular services. Now, the key is you can get redirected, but you got to do the work. So, and so making a phone call, making an email is just the first step. But, we definitely have to continue to put in the effort and the work. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. I mean, the reality is 80% of Black businesses fail in the first 2 years compared to 80% of all businesses in the first 5 years. And so with those high rates of failure, there's a lot of reasons to go along with it. But, just continue to stick at it. You're going to have some highs, you're going to have some lows, but, take advantage of a lot of these resources. Like I said, the eventually start a competition may be too late to enter for a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that there will be, there could be one next year and the year after. I know they've been doing this, excuse me, pretty regularly. I know that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying 10 years this year.
Yeah, 10 years. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, this is an ongoing, event where, if you are, lucky enough to be one of the top 3 winners, is that you can get some money to help start your business, and that is capital, right? And so, I know, just to clarify, grant money is a form of capital. Your cash, your credit, a business loan, crowdfunding, grants, angel treatment, that is a form of capital. That's how you're getting your capital. And so, take advantage of those opportunities. So again, if you're looking for capital for your business in your professional service, or if you're a restaurant, if you're a caterer, or a landscaper, or a lawn service, or even a dry cleaner, you'll be amazed what kind of money is allocated for that particular line of service that you might be able to get to. And again, that's, if you're looking for grants, you can almost mentally look at some of these state contracts as a grant for you to do business. So, that money's allocated to the state. I think there's no other state like the state of Illinois that has that minority participation goal and targets, and they actually upped it most recently in the last state legislature to 30%, I believe. They want to get 30% of minority-owned businesses to get actively involved and engaged in receiving contracts. I know that the actual number is well below that, but that means that there's room for growth. So thank you again, Joanne. We do have a guest on. I don't know if you had any questions for us or not. So just give you a quick little opportunity to be able to ask us questions if you want. If not, we can just close it out.
No, I don't have any questions, but I do want to say thank you so much for providing this information, as it has been very insightful and helpful as I am here in the Springfield market. So it is great to see the resources that are available throughout the state. I did register for the webinar tomorrow. And I look forward to learning more about the grant one-on-one webinar as well. And I also followed you on your Facebook feed. So thank you so much for the information.
See, look at that. Power and connectivity in the internet, Joanne. That's cool. That's awesome. And you know, and also, yeah, absolutely. And I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. You know, follow my professional page. That's where I'm more active at. My private page is pretty much, you know, off the radar, but you know, I do a lot more posting to my LinkedIn and my professional page. The podcast is actually Mahogany Thoughts, and that's on Spotify and other, you know, podcast things. And then my YouTube channel, that's what kind of like my comprehensive for not only for some of my training previews, but and dissertation tutorials and stuff, because I am a methodologist, but also just, you know, I share these videos and stuff. So when we do share the screens, or, you know, or if people have presentations they want to look at, we can always go back and be able to see that. So Joanne, thank you as always for not only being a person to support, but, you know, always being a community advocate.
Thank you. Happy to be a part of this community and helping others, and look forward to doing more things together.
Absolutely. So be on the lookout, everybody, for this recording. You know, like I said, it will be out tomorrow, but you can always go back and look at it on any of our social media pages or on YouTube. And thank you again, everybody. God bless and have a good evening.
You too.